Okay, great. Well, welcome to our July, and welcome to our Tuesday, July 11th Policy Committee meeting. We have a fairly short agenda of second readings, but at the end, we're going to just do a quick review of the work we've done this year, which we can talk more about, but I'm so excited to look at that summary and see all that our staff has accomplished with us. So look forward to that informational item at the end. Items for our second reading is student attendance. And again, with student attendance, there was a lot of new language put in there, especially around mental health and treatments, and but a lot of new language in that. And so but there weren't any other changes or recommendations after our first reading. So I just wanted to check with board members to see if we had any additional questions, or staff, anything additional you'd want to say about our attendance policy, student attendance 503.
No additional updates.
Just a reminder, there was a regulation that went with it too, that we talked about last time. Yep.
Yes, thank you for that. And the regulation again was informational, which we reviewed back in our June meeting. June. Wow, seems like a long time ago. Sorry. So any board members, any questions or comments?
I just want some feedback on how our in-school support systems are going to help some of our students, because again, I have concerns because I've seen it and I've witnessed it. You know, when students miss 3-4 days, whether it's from illness or something else. And yet again, when we put a number on tardies and the excuse absence, I kind of worry about these things, because it seems like, some teachers might give you 5 seconds, and some 15 seconds, and some 0 seconds. It's how do we work with our students to make sure they're getting the support they need, that we have a fair system?
So one of the things I just want to point out is that the tardies that turn into an unexcused absence, that's always been in our policy. That's not a change from previous policies. So that isn't anything that's been new or anything. That is something that is challenging, I will say, for us to keep track of. But it does help to have that language in there when we are trying to bring kids forward for, when they have to go to court and all that stuff. That's all data and stuff that's collected. So it is helpful for us to have all that information. As far as some of the supports, we're really trying hard to engage with our counselors for helping and supporting students, check and connect. So we have some easier ways to pull data and information so that we can look and see which kids that are struggling more. And that's a new addition for us to have EduClimber and to be able to really look at real-time data. And they're the Check and Connect, and I believe we're expanding Check and Connect into some other areas as well, so that we can get a few more mentors as well in some areas. So I think, it's just attendance is a cornerstone of that Check and Connect program, and having those details.
We're using that in the middle schools also?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
middle schools and high schools have it.
And again, Check and Connect is our mentoring program. It's more than that, but for our community, it's a mentoring program for our students. One of the pillars of it is a focus on student attendance. When students have connections with another adult, they tend to have improved attendance. The research has shown it. So by expanding our Check and Connect program, our mentoring program, we believe this will again allow more students opportunities to have that adult that they're connected with, which we believe will increase those students' attendance. We also has, over the last few years, and probably previous to this as well, we have spent significant resources using our ESSER dollars to really focus on incentives and initiatives to promote positive attendance in schools. So we're going to continue those efforts next year. You will hear at the next board meeting, in a few moments, HR Finance, you're going to hear about our new position for a family and community coordinator position. Again, it's one of those positions that's going to focus on campaigning around attendance and why they need to be in school and working and connecting with families in a different way and engaging way. So we hope that through this new position, along with our other efforts, that we're going to make better connections with families, which then hopefully will turn around those students who in the past had poor attendance or attendance were problematic, that will have better attendance out of those students that work with those families. So we're focused on it. We're going to try to make sure that we have efforts in place. I too, will be taking a hard look at the number of students that end up being identified as chronically absent because of the new policy that we have in place. So we'll be monitoring closely because, again, we are the ones who are setting the time frame here. You can always make adjustments if you believe it's not something that is working for us or it's causing more hardship for our students.
If our support system is going to provide some incentives too for these students, I think that helps them.
I was just going to add, thank you for that question, Board Member Sandberg. I really appreciate your further explanation about a big piece of what the Check and Connect program is about in terms of attendance and some of the research that shows that students who are engaged in the Check and Connect, their attendance goes up. I would just also, I guess, want to make sure that, I know just having kids recently in the school that maybe we're tardy more than once, or we're doing something in the school and came in, that there is processes within the school just to, if they were marked tardy to, and if it wasn't accurate, to get that looked at anyway. So just making sure there's systems in place for that as well. Sometimes that happens, but they're just.
My understanding is that the attendance secretary often has to make adjustments when things are corrected, so yeah.
So there's room for that.
Yeah, there's room for that.
I experienced that several times this last year where my child was maybe marked absent from a class and they were there and maybe there was a sub and I just couldn't normally take it.
We will be monitoring those things. I mean, again, we recognize that we are implementing a policy that potentially could have negative consequences, and that's now our goal. So we have to make sure that we're monitoring, the impact of making this decision to tighten up the transition time for students. So we're going to monitor.
And I know we've talked about this at the last meeting too, is that, we look forward to any ways we can support attendance campaign, if you will, with our schools, with our communities, with our families. So we look forward to different opportunities like that. So, any other questions on 503? Then 102, again, this is a second reading, equal educational opportunity. This was updated. Some of the updates dealt with legalities, and we got an additional update, which we each got right now, that under E, which was again due to legislative changes. And Jen, would you care to speak towards this, please?
Yeah, so if you look at the legal references on the back page, you'll see that they've updated Minnesota Statute 121A.04, which is athletic programs and sex discrimination, and that has been added to 102. So this language that you're seeing in E is around having that equal opportunity for athletics, due to sex, due to race and ethnicities, being able to participate in athletic programs. And that is coming from that new legislation. And then the other pieces looks like we're just renumbering that with maybe an error at the back here, that F, G, and H. Renumbering?
Yeah, because since we added that paragraph in.
It needed to be renumbering?
Yes.
Okay.
And I see the statute is highlighted on the back too in red.
Yep,
Yes.
Yep, that's-
1218.04.
yep. So we were already reviewing this, and then with the legislative changes, we now just added this additional piece that is being recommended from MSBA.
I appreciate you working to keep it as current as possible.
That was Patty.
This is the time to change. The plural
Yes.
you of the team. Thank you so much.
Do you want a minute to read through this, or did you get a chance before the meeting?
Take it away.
Okay. And this is language right out of the statute, right?
Language was recommended by MSBA.
So in, I guess it's H now. Any student, parent, or guardian having any question regarding this policy should discuss it with the appropriate school district official as provided by policy. Is that identified as the activities director, principal, assistant principal, in the absence of specific designee, and inquiry complaint should be referred to the superintendent. So, I mean, so it's kind of like, we haven't listed anybody other than going straight to the superintendent.
It should be in the regulation, shouldn't it?
Is,
As provided by policy, though, it says. Catch.
do the,
It's usually have to come
Do
from
the
the
schools
assistant
identify that?
superintendent's office.
Usually it was
outside the policy?
would-
Or should there?
We need to clarify that. Because I would imagine it follows or any other process for in which someone can make a complaint. Normally we ask that they start off with school administration, right? Whether it's school administration and or in this case the athletic director could be the school administrator or the administrator, the principal. And if they feel like they're not getting any kind of resolution, then it comes to the assistant superintendent. Or they can even bypass going to them and can send something to me. And normally what I do is connect them back with the school administrator first. But so your recommendation is to
Well, it's not
Have it
like,
more
it's
specific.
not like,
specific.
Well,
I don't want to use the term
it
chain of
asks you-
command, but it's not like there's a level
Right.
of inquiry or, you know, I mean, in high school, it's a little more straightforward, I guess. You might go to, well, it could even go to the band or music director or something like that, but that's not the same either. So, and then it could go to the activities director. To me, it would make the most sense probably to go to activities director and then administration, then the building, and then superintendent.
Well, that's if it's in athletics, which is what that specific paragraph is, but the rest of this policy isn't just about athletics.
It's not about, it's not all about athletics.
No, yeah,
Yeah, that's
so,
what I'm saying too. I mean,
Yeah.
what if the accommodation, or I mean, what if it does relate to band, orchestra, music.
Yeah, so I can't click on policy 103 complaints. I am assuming, maybe I'm wrong in that it says refer to district policy 103 complaints, students, employees, parents, and other persons for complaint and grievance procedures. But I can't
I
pull
think
that
it
up.
lays, because we did complaints
Right.
recently.
Yeah, it's 103, it's on the website.
Yeah, but I can't click on it in my
Oh,
workbook, that's what I'm saying. So I
yeah.
can't click on it to pull it up to see what it says specifically. I have to,
Can you give me that number again?
What
I'll pull
part
it
do
up.
you want to know?
103.
I have it up.
Who does
I
bring
have it.
complaints to?
where did complaints go?
Well,
It goes
it all
to you.
depends, there's a.
No, I appreciate the safe.
Procedure, and so like there's,
I mean, that's the easiest
it
way.
depends on what it is. Some are human rights officer, which, and it is in this policy where they list like Teresa's the human rights officer, they have the assistant superintendent, and then your names, this is one of those policies where the specific names are listed. Yeah, so Title I or Title IX coordinator, Section 4 coordinator, U.S. Department of Education Civil Rights.
Yeah, it does fill it up pretty
Yeah.
fully.
Right, so
in
there is a
103.
number of people that,
Yeah.
It's in an attached policy.
if they were to reference
Yeah,
103, they could see who to contact
right.
within the building.
Basically, it starts with building. But I think usually people are gonna contact, I mean, they're not necessarily gonna go through multiple policies to see who to call. They'll just go
Well,
with the
yeah,
most
and you know,
trusted.
some people are just gonna go straight
Yeah,
to you.
exactly.
Correct.
Then
And,
I can refer back.
Right.
and under general statement of policy number 2A, it says any employee receiving a complaint shall advise the principal or immediate supervisor of the receipt of the complaint. So it does start there.
Correct. Just see that.
This actually brings up another question because policy 103 is one that has specific names, and it also has address. So when we change our address next month, we will want to look at doing like a one fell swoop
Of all address
change of all
changes.
address policies.
Sure.
The district service center.
So to circle back on this, then is there a recommendation besides clearly, how about if we take I offer this, we'll review what we think we should add and we'll offer a suggestion as at the final at the board? Or do you have a
Or either
recommendation?
that, or it just gets clarified when 103's
103 clarifies
addressed
that.
next month.
I mean, we do have under H the reference to district policy 103, so when that first sentence says, as provided by policy, I mean, it follows it pretty closely.
So if we make sure we update 103, we should be,
Well, 103, we did update.
we updated it, but
Yeah.
with the addresses.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is
I
no,
don't believe we.
no modification needs to be made at this time? Great, sounds good.
I had one more thought
103 does cover.
when we're done with this conversation. Just when I'm reading this new section, which I hadn't seen till today, and just thank you for the time to read it. I don't know, this is probably a bigger conversation, maybe not to have here, but it just, when I'm looking at this, you know, equal opportunity within sports, it just gets me thinking about making sure that all of our teams have equal equipment and different things like that. So different sports teams, depending on their gender or school, will have more funds coming in based on tickets, correct? Which kind of could affect equipment.
I don't know.
Just asking about that. Is that how it works
It's
or
not,
no?
it's not ticket sales.
Not ticket
It's
sales,
not that.
but
But I do think that through, at least through business services, if not through the board as a whole, we want to make sure that we have appropriate replacement cycles for everything, and that there isn't a bias based on, you know, it's, you know, a
Sport or
girls soccer team as opposed to
popularity.
boys football, and so we're going to fund one more heavily
Yeah.
than the
Yeah,
other.
this could come from boosters, student sales of those promotional cards or these
Sure.
other fundraisers that these students do on that team. And the other side of that story
Sure.
is some teams are way better at that than the other. You know, they're better at raising more money or funds for their own team. You know, they get to take more coach buses. So it does open a huge can of worms, but it's coming from the boosters that are.
Sure.
Speaking of boosters, we are reviewing our booster guidelines, and we plan to bring forward new booster guidelines next month to the board. Based partly just on need to make sure that we're following best practice.
I might suggest that we have the activities directors from both schools come and present. It's been a while since we've had that. It might be helpful to understand from their point of view a number of issues that maybe you have or others have. And we've had them present in the past, and so that could be where a longer conversation or just questions we have.
Sure, that's a good idea.
I like that suggestion, and as we're putting together that progress monitoring calendar, thinking about different topics, thinking about the 3 focus areas of success is supporting every student, advancing equity, and improving systems. We could do, if you wanted to have more of a flavor of focusing on the equity issues, we could do it under an advancing equity perspective.
That'd be great.
Can you
But
keep
the
that
language for
pushing?
this comes from the legislative changes, and it's model language from the School Board Association. That's where the language that we have written here comes from.
Right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. So that will then, both of those will be on the consent agenda. And then the last one is 504, student dress and appearance, and just a reminder that this is replacing 5100, but there was a lot of new language added to this to match regulations as well, and again, want to appreciate all the work that went into getting feedback from students and from around the dress code policy as well. So, and there were not any additional, oh yes, there were.
This one, looks like there's some change to make the language reflective of
Yes.
what was in regulation. And I understand that. I also want to say that, like, regulation is giving more of the details, like we have policies and they're usually kind of general, and then we get regulations, which kind of like how to implement the policy. It's kind of how I perceive regulations being. So when I look at the wording in this one that is being changed, it's under 3 procedures A. And I mean, I don't see anything wrong with changing it if you want to. I just know that MSBA is oftentimes saying that for legality reasons and purposes, we should be using more of their language. I don't know what this does to that, making this change, because what was crossed out is when in the judgment of the administration. So who's determining? This is also identifying who's determining a dress code violation with that. The new language that's in yellow doesn't say that. I mean, the teacher's not the one saying that your dress code violations. It is specifically stating administration in that sentence there. A student's appearance, grooming, or mode of dress interferes or disrupts the education process or school activities, or poses a threat to the health and safety of the student or others. Those are the reasons why we would say something is a dress code violation more than anything. So I'm kind of saying, leaning towards like, why would we change that to be something that's just more about the regulations telling you what to do? Like, yep, when a student's in violation, this is what they're going to be asked to do. Where this is kind of saying who is responsible for making that determination. It's administration, and the reasons why you would say somebody was having a violation would be because of it disrupting their educational process. So I'm not sure that. I understand that you guys had conversations and I wasn't part of that, but I'm just saying that, I would think about that.
I also, they do talk about, grooming, and I'm not saying like, I'm just remembering like sometimes people using Knox blocks to like super spike up their hair, so it's like super hard spikes this big, that could be seen as a disruption of the learning environment that you might want. But I'm a former punker myself, so, but I'm just saying that there are certain things that might become a disruption to the learning environment that aren't just dress code. And the MSBA statement is a little bit more inclusive of those obscure possibilities that you might want to reason to.
And it's identifying the who's making that determination, which is really important in my opinion. The regulation is just telling what happens in the next steps, but the policy itself in here is identifying who is actually determining that. It's not a teacher or a para that's determining it, it's an administrator.
Which I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that then doesn't allow for what could be a concerning relationship between a teacher or a parent or someone and a student, whereas it falls on somebody else. So I could really see that reason to also go with the first language as well.
I agree.
Do we recall who requested the original
Kelly
recommendation?
brought, or remember, Derek Heater mentioned that this was the language that was in the regulation, and should we be using the same language, which that's where it came from, but I think we said we would look at it, if I remember right, the conversation, help me out, that we would look at it and bring it back to this policy
But
committee.
doesn't B reference, administration may recommend a form of dress considered appropriate for a specific event?
But that's
That
different.
doesn't tie to the same thing.
That's about an event, or I think that's different than a.
So like graduation, you know, the principals give out guidelines for like, you shouldn't, I don't know, bejewel it, like you have to wear a certain kind of shoes, or I don't know what they have in there, I have to look at it. But, you know, they can make recommendations for such as like graduation, how you should be dressing for that to be respectful.
So are you kind of saying that first part, I mean, then the way I'm reading it is, why can't that just be left in there along with what's added in yellow here?
I would say that could be an option. I'm worried about the crossing out of identifying the who is
Right.
the one thing. I really am, that kind of concerned me when I saw that. And then also the reasoning behind why this might happen, being that the appearance, grooming, or mode of dress interferes with or disrupts that education process. To me, that's a really important statement in there. Or poses a threat, you know, so I feel like those pieces there should stay. You could stop, you know, like the last part where the student will be directed to make modifications or be sent home for the day, parents and guardians will be notified. I mean, if you wanted to replace that part with what we have, you could do that with that other piece of it, but yeah. It's just, again, regulation language does not have to be exactly the same as policy language. Regulation is an interpretation of policy. So the policy language is really what we base regulation off of. So what do you want your regulation or your policy to state? Do you want it to be identifying the who and the reasoning why we would make that determination? I think is really important to say in our policy.
So, what if we keep that first paragraph and then just keep this addition with that?
I think that works.
I do think that would work, yeah.
Then that's
So the recommendation now is to keep A that is crossed out now, as well as the new language that's being
Just added.
recommended. Okay.
I think that works.
I think so.
okay.
And thank you for putting that out.
Member Sandler.
Thank you. Just for this policy discussion, I brought this today. Cleaning out some, we're going through the attic and cleaning out boxes. 1969 school newspaper, the Western Front. My new junior high newspaper.
1969.
Dress code changes. Just wanted to share this for fun. Now it's a junior high paper, so maybe it's not well written, but it's It's interesting. West Junior High is swinging towards the high school this year with the new dress code. The proposed dress code has allowed girls to wear culottes, pants, skirts, and pant dresses, jumpsuits, and walking dresses. Dresses, skirts, and slacks which are too tight are not allowed. Boys and girls are not permitted to wear hunting or construction boots. Heel plates are not allowed on shoes. They damage property. Girls may wear slack outfits as long as they are neat and the bottoms are not fringed. Blue jeans are not to be worn by girls.
What year?
And boys may wear them only if they are not harmful in any way to the furniture. They used to have rivets on the back and they'd scratch up the furniture. Shorts will not be acceptable on either boys or girls. So we've come a long way.
What year? Again, what year is this?
What's that?
What year?
February 1969.
69.
The name of the school newspaper is the Western Front, West Junior High.
It was a month before I was born.
I was going to say I was born in 1970.
And I think that probably, by the time we graduated from high school, I think the girls were wearing jeans. I don't know if anybody's ever wearing shorts.
Well, maybe it's
Bell
easier,
bottoms
you
were
know?
in, I mean, things changed a lot.
I do think that we're ahead of the curve with a lot of our policy work, which has helped as the state has come out with things that are more progressive. A lot of times we're already a ways down that road related to equity and progressive policy work. And so I think that we've come a long way since 1969.
And in this policy, just really appreciate also all of the language changes to make it better.
I had one other question about the hat thing. On D, you know, I mean, okay, there's a lot of boys like wear the baseball style caps. And that doesn't cover the ears. But there are a lot of students, and you see them walking down the street in the summertime, and always, of course, it's in Minnesota, they wear their stocking hats all year round. And so, a stocking hat or a beanie, whatever you want to call it, will cover their ears, and it says, and does not obscure the face or ears. So, what about the student that wants to wear a beanie?
You know, you have that opportunity to say, you know, we want to be able to see your ears. Can you put it up a little bit more so we can see your ears? You know, I mean, it's really about the relationship that you have with the kid and encouraging them to follow the policy in a positive way, not like calling them out in front of everybody else, but you know, just like, yeah, you can wear your hat. Just make sure that we can see that you're not having headphones in your ears. And yeah.
I thought last time it said that the hoods were okay because kids don't wear the hoods up too. Did we take that out?
That was in regulation, I believe.
Yeah, that's what they should be here. They're allowed to wear.
That might have been in the regulation part of it.
At the end of the day, at any given moment, the teacher can ask
Yep.
a student to.
I just wanted to go on record. I'm not recommending to go back to 1969.
Thank you for verifying that, members. Any other changes then? And we'll just when we do the update at the meeting, highlight that section that we are adding back. Good discussion. And then the last piece on our agenda, again, is just the informational summary of our policies approved through this year, June 30th. And we've been doing this since the policy committee began, either at our June or July meeting, doing just a quick summary so we can look back and reflect. And so 26 policies, way to go team. And really again, just a huge thank you for the work that our staff did to review the policies, to bring them forward, to review it with the legalities around the policies, and Patty making the different changes as we discuss the policies, but very, very impressive. And we hit on, almost every series of our series of policies. And of course, many of these were part of our handbook that we just approved last month. So we're ahead of the game there. And then we also had just some historic policies, our gender inclusion policy, our overdose medication policy that we were really on the forefront of. So I'm just really proud of the work of our staff and the work we did together. Board members, do you have anything additional you want to add as you look through these, or staff?
I do. I also want to thank the team as well. There were a number of administrators and leaders who are not present today who had a role in these policies. And there were administrators who took on more policies. Director Rama led the way with several policies that are listed here. I want to thank her publicly for that. Adele Wellens also supported several of these policies along with Jacob Laurent and others. I'm just going to name a few people who took on more policies or some significant work, so I want to thank them for their efforts. But there were also a number of other leaders, including our building administrators, who also had a hand in reviewing the policies and giving their feedback. Our teacher and learning staff also had a role in making sure that they took a look, that they provided input on policies as well. So it was a team effort, but there were individuals who led the way and some policies, and I wanted to mention that. So thank you, and I want to thank the team.
I also want to thank Jason, who was involved in front of us, helping educate us on many of the policies and the background behind it as well. So
I'll lift up Crystal Hooker and our nursing staff that are heavily involved with reviewing. Thanks.
And you said we adopted 26 policies this year?
did I count right?
No. But I looked, I don't know if we counted them or not, but I looked at last year, and last year we got through 14 policies. So we've done almost twice as many policies this year as we have last year, which is very impressive.
Great work.
Are we on that word?
Crank it.
And please do share an appreciation from the board as you're meeting with staff in the next few weeks for all of their support and work that they did to help move all of these policies.
Thank you. We will.
Thank you. So is that what we're gonna
Are we on the schedule with that?
Yeah, are we on our, we met our
Yeah,
goal.
I think we might have exceeded our goal.
We are overachievers. Way to go, team.
Slow down.
It was those 2 months where we had like 5 policies.
Yeah.
I think Adele had attended a policy webinar. I still have to listen to it. And she said there's like 30 of them that are coming with new legislative changes that. So we had about 30 that we'll probably have to be looking at over time. Was it 30 or 33 or something? I mean, it was like
Just started.
yeah.
And maybe they'll fit in with the 500 series, and I know we're trying to transfer some over. So.
And actually, this is again what happens at this time of the year. We're going to hear from the Superintendent's Association, from the school board, at that summer seminar that some of us will be attending. They will review it. They often provide a nice little booklet as well, and they'll go through the policy changes as well to make sure we're moving things in each district. So that's one of the things I really always appreciate about the summer seminar is that. That's all.
And I know Member Sandholm has brought this up many times, and I agree. As a district, we have to figure out how do we make sure that, one, our staff is fully apprised of policy changes when they happen, and that they have opportunities to digest them and understand how it affects their work or the things they have to do. And we have to figure out a way to ensure that our community is aware of when policies are up for review and finding ways to better communicate policy as on the way. So I'll be working with Adele, and again, that new coordinator position, trying to figure out how do we do more strategic communication around certain things to engage. So community engagement, family community engagement is also about doing a fantastic job of communicating what's happening in the district and communicating in a way that is accessible to all of the different stakeholders in our community. So we'll be working on on those things and hopefully doing a better job next year at that as well.
Does this new handbook go out in the mail at the end of the month or the 1st of August? When, is there a date set aside for?
Gosh, I know
Our
she
new
did
handbook.
that for, before she went on maternity leave, so it's being printed and it goes in the mailing early August.
And we had
I think
to
it's
pause
early
it
August.
because
Pause it for a minute. So it will go in August. We're just saying that it's going to go in August. We press pause because we want to make sure that we add the most recent updates and we're making some tweaks to certain things. So it'll move on in August.
And I think, you know, at that, the staff back to school training, you know, lifting this up as much as we can at the beginning too about the policies and, you know, certainly the handbook. And I know I will keep saying at our meetings that, you know, all of our policies that come forward go through really 4 discussions. The first reading, of the policy committee, that school board meeting that follows, the second reading of the policy committee, that school board meeting that follows, unless there's some special circumstances where they could only go through one, and that they're also updated fairly quickly onto our website. Thank you again, Patty, for that. So they're available, and you know, the meetings are available for the public to hear our discussion around these policies. And I know I, just as the chair of this committee, am just so grateful for Paul and Amber, who really come in well prepared for this meeting and do a lot of thought in offering questions as well as comments. And I know all of us as board members take our key role of a school board member seriously in terms of reviewing policies and seeing what's out there in other districts as well with their policies. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, thank you, Patty, for being the keeper of our policies. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good second meeting.